909 in Studio is brought to you by 90.9 The Bridge in Kansas City. To find out how you can become a sustaining member or to donate, go to bridge909.org. Hey, congratulations on All of This Life. It's just a brilliant record. You guys really knocked it out of the park.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
So tonight, Madison Moore, the Mama Bear Open, so hometown crowd. This will be, the roof will be coming off tonight over at the Madrid.
Can't wait. We're so happy to have them on our entire tour.
So, in the grand tradition of rock and roll three pieces, it's Chris, Alex, and Mark joining us. Chris, you grew up on a dairy farm in Wisconsin. That just seems like if you're going to be in Wisconsin, you almost have to be on a dairy farm. It's how it feels.
It's a good way to get started. It's a nice place to begin your musical career. Cows are a very forgiving audience. That was the first audience I ever had. Was the out on the farm. We used to open up the garage, jam in the garage, and we didn't have any neighbors to worry about, so we just play into the pasture. They'd look on curiously.
Yeah, so got you used to tough crowds.
Oh yeah, absolutely. Well, they were at least mildly interested, curious at best.
Yeah.
But growing up on a farm teaches you a lot about being in a band. Believe it or not, because you got to be able to do everything. You got to be able to do a lot of different jobs, just like when you're starting a band. These days when you're starting a band, you got to be your own booking agent, your own manager, your own, promoter, your own everything. So being on a farm teaches you all that, because on the farm you got to be a horticulturalist, a veterinarian, et cetera, carpenter. But also a farm teaches you how to get along with people when you have no choice but to get along, because reason farm families don't fight is because there's no choice. You're going to be friends with your brothers. You got nobody else to hang out with. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you're driving around in a van those first couple of years, in a band, getting along is a big part of the whole experience.
You're out in the country, no internet, no cable.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So now
got everything the old-fashioned way.
My understanding is that you had a lot of people in the family that love music, but they all love different music, which was probably good for you.
Yeah, my grandpa was the country guy and kind of the classic American songbook guy. Played accordion, played harmonica, and he was a good singer. So he introduced me to Willie Whalen, Johnny Cash, and then just like the old Stephen Foster songs and stuff like that. And then Ma was in Motown and R&B, and Dad was in rock and roll. So I got every little piece.
We all want to find that one moment when somebody's life changed, and that aha moment. Mm-hmm. And for you, it was maybe hearing your grandfather play the accordion when you were 3.
Yeah, no, that was when people ask me what my most powerful musical memory is, I usually access that one first, because I was out in the middle of nowhere, and I do remember seeing him do that at a very young age, like 3, 4, 5 years old, and just being like, what is this magical thing that's happening, and I guess I don't know, but I guess every time I was over, I was always begging for the record player to be on. My dad bought me a little baseball bat, and I'm in diapers pretending it's a microphone instead of pretending it's a baseball bat. So everybody in this band shares a story similar. We were all got it young and kind of, happily doomed from the start. You know what I mean?
Yeah. I love those sort of stoic farm people, though, and it's like your grandpa missed the birth of 3 of his kids because the cows needed to be milked.
That's right. He did. Yeah. He had to work. And Grandma knew it too.
And so then when you go out and you're playing gigs, and unfortunately he's passed now, but
yeah,
he did get to see your success, and you all would have weekly calls where you would talk about how it's going on the road, and he'd talk about how the shows were going at the retirement homes and the church.
Yeah, he would, Grandpa Don, I'd come home, and he got to see some of what's happening with the group before he passed, which was really nice. And at Christmas, he'd go, how are your gigs going? I'm like, they're going good. And then I go, how are your gigs going? And he'd be playing like retirement home and church. And he'd go, they're good. And he'd always impart some wisdom. He'd be like, you got to leave them wanting one more, Chris. You got to walk away. You got to avoid that. You got to always leave them wanting one more. That was a big deal for him, so. And he was also like, you got to play the stuff that people want to hear, too. You can't just play what you want to hear. You got to play what they want to hear. It's actually really good advice.
Yeah.
Sometimes you get wound up in your own had a little too much as a musician, I think.
You know, sometimes when you're, when you're young, you take inspiration from sort of like unusual places, and you discovered the blues largely through Crossroads, 1986 Walter Hill film where
That helped.
Ralph Macchio sold his soul to the devil.
Well, he said, Muddy Waters invented electricity, which was the quote in the movie, which is not accurate, obviously. but I remember I asked my mom, I'm like, I don't know who Muddy Waters is, but could you get me Muddy Waters something? And she brought home Muddy Waters Hart Again, which is why I have a dobro on my lap right now. Johnny Winter.
Kind of great.
Yeah. I was listening to Metallica and Megadeth, young angst-ridden farm boy who wished he could be in the city, not realizing how good I had it. And I heard that album, and it was like the veil was lifted. I was like, I don't know what this is, but it's the greatest thing I've ever heard.
Well, the record company is in our studios this afternoon, and they're at the Madrid tonight. This is really a band. All three members are songwriters, and they're all contributing on really equal levels, and we'd love to hear some music if we could.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, on the bridge here, we're going to premiere this song. First time we've ever played it on the air. So there you go, Kansas City. We certainly do find you special. Let's make it happen.
I'm looking busted, working for nothing. Who can be trusted? Oh, I've been struggling. When the rent keep doubling, cards keep shuffling. If you want something, gotta go out and get it, baby. Well, I'm tired of talking, sitting and watching. Feel like I'm walking on the break of something. Think of myself as an honest man, kinda never could deny. When I gotta keep going, baby, gotta be moving on. Oh, 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 let's make this happen. Gotta make it happen. Oh, 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 let's make this happen, gotta make it happen. Slip through the lightning, tossing and fighting. I opened my eyes and oh, it was inspiring. Think of myself as an honest man, I kinda never could deny. When I got to keep going, baby, got to be moving on. When I got to keep going, baby, got to keep moving on, yeah. Oh, 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 let's make this happen. Gotta make it happen. Oh, 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 let's make this happen. Gotta make it happen. Let's make this happen. Gotta make it happen. Let's make this happen. Gotta make it happen. Let's make this happen. Gotta make it happen.
That was great. Record
Thank you.
company in our studios this afternoon, live on the bridge. Playing tonight over at the Madrid, Madison Ward and the Mama Bear Open. New album is All of This Life on Concord. So, you've been playing around Milwaukee, and one of the things that I just really couldn't quite figure out is, like, you moved to L.A., your wife got a job in advertising. Was the impetus for the move the job for her, or
Yes.
for you to go and play music?
It was not for me to go play music. I didn't believe in myself enough to do that, to be honest. I had taken a good long shot at achieving my goal to play music as a living, and I had not achieved it. And I kind of had been beaten up by the road and just, playing 4 hours, 5 hours a night with the television sets on, somebody yelling Freebird in the back, and that being your only audience other than the bartender. It's just like, so that beat me up pretty good. I was broke and kind of broken, and just didn't see it for myself anymore. I just kind of was having that look your death of your dream in the eye moment. And it was really my wife who just was like, she's always been smarter than me, and she always saw something in me that I never saw in myself, and you can't ask for any more than that, can you?
Yeah.
So she said, I want to move. And I said, well, if we move to another city, I am not going to be able to provide for you anything of substance because I'm a musician, and I was teaching guitar and doing I was still playing. I was still out there doing it, but really didn't look that good for me. And I was considering changing careers. And she said, well, I've got a friend at the LA Times in LA, and she flew out there and got a job interview and got the job. And then she called me and said, will you come? I'm like, yeah. So I said goodbye to the family and broke up the band, sold my business, and moved out to LA, and then went from never having really had a boss to working at catering companies, working for moving companies, anything I could do to get in there. And then I got lucky and found these guys. And right when we started playing, we had all kind of hit that same snag. These guys have been out in LA for a long time. They actually did go out there to do it and had done pretty well in different ways, but had never achieved that let's be in a band dream, and to go out there and do our own music kind of thing. So when we got together, I think they were kind of at the end of their rope in LA, and I had just gotten fresh air in my lungs because I'm like, well, if we're going to go to LA, there's only one choice for me to make value of myself and be a good partner to my wife is to make it in the music business. So I was all fired up, and then when we came together and heard each other, that was all we needed.
So you went out there and you were doing some session work and doing some live stuff, getting gigs through Craigslist.
Yeah.
And then your wife, being in advertising, saw your Craigslist and rewrote it for you.
She created a lovingly fraudulent rewrite of me on that ad. I was actually out playing pedal steel with a band. I was in Austin, and I was kind of doing the side guy thing, singing backup, playing steel. And I was like, my ad's going to go out, could you refresh it? When she looked at it, she was like, oh, this is terrible. This is horrible. She rewrote it, and Alex, who's usually on bass, but he's playing the other acoustic today, he saw it. And we struck up a conversation, and we immediately became kind of friends.
But
right
he
off the
said
bat.
no to you, right? I mean, he turned you down.
Everything in my life I've ever gotten that was worth anything said no to me first. My wife said no to me. These guys were not interested in starting a band when I met them, They had been through all that. So you just got to hang in there, be a pest,
Yeah.
If you see something good, there's no reason to just walk away from it. Sometimes you got to fight for something.
So was everybody in the room sort of aware that this was a courtship?
I don't think they had any clue.
No, I wasn't. I just thought, Alex and I have known each other so long, we've just needed a new guy friend, really. Like, just anybody. But
How tender.
no, Chris was cool, and he'd come over with his wife and hang out. And I lived next door to Alex, so we'd play records late night and all that type of thing. And I don't think it was till about a year later that I think we went to see Chris got Alex to play bass on a gig or something, and we went, and then we came home back to Alex's house late night and put on. Alex was like, "Hey, I got this album. It's the best record I own. It's John Lee Hooker and Canned Heat, called Hooker and Heat. Got it for 99 cents at the record store that day, and put it on, and we were just listening. It's a really raw, really raw recording. It starts with just, you can hear the boot stomps on the ground and everything. And so we just said, why don't we just try something like this? Obviously, we're not going to even attempt to touch the masters, but, just try it. And I think Chris was like, okay, finally. Came in the next, honestly, like a few days later, and he had some song ideas already, and we hung up one microphone kind of like this, hanging up here in Alex's living room, and actually recorded stuff that first day that, we listened back and thought, okay,
It's a band.
might be something. I don't know, but, so there was I guess you could call it a courtship, but we weren't aware of it. We just thought we were hanging out with the.
I was
cool
aware of
guy.
it.
That's the well played, well played.
Gotta hang
So
low.
you two guys actually knew each other from college.
That's right. Yeah, we had been in bands together, college bands, bar bands, jam bands, bands out in L.A., and we had kind of just hadn't found that right magic yet. And Mark was a keyboard player to start, and I was always on the guitar. And somehow by flipping up the instruments and meeting Chris, it sort of had this rawness. Sometimes with the early stages of a band, you might not be the greatest at your craft yet, but sometimes that makes for something kind of energetic and organic and raw that you didn't expect. So for me to jump on the bass, that wasn't my natural instrument. But
Yeah.
We've gotten better as the years have gone along, but we try and keep that natural spirit still.
Yeah.
With the kind of switch up here.
And the crazy thing is, Chris, you figured out that you'd actually seen these two guys play at 10,000 Lakes Festival
Yeah,
in
man.
another band.
That was something we figured out later. I had been in a group, and we played 10,000 Lakes Festival up in, that was Minnesota, right? Minnesota.
Yeah, like north of Minneapolis.
North of Minneapolis. And I remember distinctly, what I actually remember is Alex. And I remember seeing him very distinctly because he was playing guitar, and I thought, well, that guy's a cool guitar player. And I was watching the band, and I really liked this band they were in. And it was one of the bands I remember that day just being like, that band that I saw in that field, and there was like me and 20 people watching these guys. So I was like, poor guys, I know
was
what
one
you're
of the
going
only
through up there,
ones,
boys,
like-
this kind of thing. I didn't know that at that moment I was watching two of my brothers that would eventually become my brothers, that would be my best friends and help me achieve my dreams. And I was watching them die on stage, just playing their guts out and doing a good job. Just like I was dying on stage, playing my guts out and doing the best I could, So
Well,
Yeah.
there's a quick aside to that, too. The day before we all got in, and it was the same time slot. I think it was like 5 p.m. or something like that. And I forget who was playing, but that same stage was jammed, and it was just a big dance party. And
a likely story.
we were there, and we're like, oh, tomorrow's going to be amazing, This is what it's like today. And then, we ended up playing for Chris and like 20 other people.
Empty field.
And I wasn't there too long.
Yeah. So after you guys did that one session, I think you all kind of knew that it was going to be a band. And Chris, you alluded to it earlier. Really early on, you decided, okay, Three Musketeers, all for one for all. Nothing happens unless everybody agrees and it's an even split.
Yep. Our band agreement was real fast. After we listened to those recordings, I kind of realized the hook had landed, and it was time to get this thing on the boat, and I didn't want it to slip away. We were listening to the recording, and I just naturally, generally my best decisions are made when I'm not thinking, and it's just my gut talking, my heart talking. My heart is way smarter than my mind has ever been, and I just said, all right, guys, that sounds like a band. Here's a band agreement for you. 33.3%, 33.3%, 33.3%, a third every way. Everybody's equally responsible. Everybody makes the same money. Everybody spends the same money. Everybody's each other's boss. What do you think? And I just stuck out my hand. We're like, I don't even know if they shook up. They were like, yeah, sounds good. Let's go. And I think Mark got on the phone later that day, and Alex got on and started sending emails with these recordings we made that day, and we got booked pretty fast. Like, I mean, that was one of the other things that we noticed, all the heartbreak that we've gone into describing. The good, happy ending parts of this is when we got together for whatever reason. I don't know why. We loved it. We didn't know if anybody else would. But when we started sending out those demos, all of a sudden people were playing them. You know, Bruce Warren played it on the radio, made it his song of the day 6 weeks after we were a band in Philadelphia, you know, and we're in L.A., you know. That was a crazy thing to have happen, you know, and we had the DJs in town and some of the promoters in town starting to give us a shot, you know, and that was not the way things had gone for us in the past, so we just kind of tried to ride that as much as we could, you know.
And of course, Bruce is at XPN where they do World Cafe that we carry here on the bridge.
Bruce is
that's
the man.
That's the kind of stuff that Bruce does.
Yep.
We'd love to hear another song right now
got
if we
it.
could.
I come to the point of my life where I've been searching for them more days where I could be myself. Dreams don't die, they get old. Riding with my father down the country roads, pretending I was driving, windows rolled down low. Thinking about my brothers, the things we used to do. That's right. All right. Come to the point of my life where I'm remembering them old days when things were complicated. Running down trails, calling heads and tails, working after school, trying to tell the truth. Ran fast and ran far, baby, ran free, so free. Thinking about them summers when I was too young to know they'd end. Thinking about my mother, she's filled with love back then. Everybody wanna make a movie, everybody acting like a star. Every time we all get together, ain't nothing changed at all, no. Everybody wanna make a movie, everybody acting like a star. Every time we all get together, nothing changed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I come to the point of my life where I'm remembering not to be afraid like my younger days. All of this life I do it the same, thousands of miles, smiles and goodbyes, crossroads and straightaways. Well, think about my grandfather. He taught me what to do. He taught me to work harder so folks can depend on you. Everybody wanna make a movie, everybody acting like a star. Every time we all get together, nothing changed at all. Everybody wanna make a movie, Everybody acting like a star. Every time we all get together, nothing changed at all. Oh, they make a movie. Every time we all get together, nothing changed. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nothing changed at all. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nothing changed at all. Hope it never does change, baby. Here come, baby, it's alright. Wanna tell you, baby, nothing changed. I'm telling you, nothing changed. Wanna tell you, nothing changed. Everybody wanna make a movie. Everybody acting like a star. Every time we all get together, ain't nothing changed at all. Yeah, yeah, nothing changed at all. Yeah, ain't nothing changed. It all, baby.
That's the record company live in the Bridge Studios this afternoon, and they're going to be at the Madrid tonight. The new album is All of This Life. It's their second full length, and it's great stuff. Really appreciate you coming in today. You know, when you get to the point where you're a band, there's an old radio adage that every promotion can be fixed with 2 words, made successful, 2 words, free beer. And you guys did some gigs with free beer, some giving away music downloads and just getting it out there. I thought that was pretty smart. But it was also time to record, and you've talked about using Alex's living room as a recording studio and hanging mics. But just to sort of give everybody sort of a picture for what this is like, the drum kit was from a garage sale. There was a free piano, and the guitar was a dumpster rescue.
Yep. That's exactly right.
That's how success looks.
So sometimes the flaws are the best part of the whole deal.
So that dumpster guitar, my understanding is that guitar is so sensitive that if you talk around the guitar, you'll hear your voice
Absolutely.
coming out the amp.
Which gave it a really amazing sound, kind of that magical thing, like where people are like, how did you make the guitar sound like that? It's like, because it's doing exactly what a guitar is not supposed to do. Basically, it was microphonic, which means that it was acting like a microphone, which when you're playing something at high volumes, that's not what you want. You know, that's when you get that feedback sound that we've all experienced at shows when something cuts loose and you get the boop. So if you play that guitar loud at a live show, it can't happen. But it worked well because we were in Alex's living room and they're neighbors, you know, so it made us play differently. But I could get a sound of an amplifier out of that guitar, like the amp was turned way louder than it really was because of how the guitar was behaving. It also made you kind of pick only what mattered because that guitar wouldn't give you anything easy, you know. And we'd try other instruments, and we just would be like, nope, go back to the Tiesco. It's called the Tiesco Del Rey. My buddy gave it to me. The front end is completely smashed in. I don't even know how it works. We had to take it in one time to get wired, and the guy looked at it and he's like, "Oh my, do you want me to do something?" I'm like, "Don't you dare do anything with touch those two solder points together. Leave it be." So, yeah, that guitar was on the first record for sure a lot. Yeah.
You know, there are a lot of people who've like made the claim of being the fifth Beatle, but I think that there's just no question that the fourth member of the record company is Alex's dog Seeger.
Yeah.
When was Seeger there for all of the sessions?
He has heard every song we've ever made, the good versions, the bad versions, the good ideas, the bad ideas. He's clicking in on some of the tracks. You can hear him if you turn up the volume at the end.
So I wanted to ask this: what's the easiest track to hear the dog on? Because I really want to go back and listen for the dog's contributions.
See, I think that's what do they call them? Easter eggs, like on a DVD.
Yeah, you got to search for it,
You
or
gotta
it's
search
not.
for
If
it.
you listen
Yeah,
close
I'd
on
say
some
we-
of the quiet moments and you hear this kind of sound, that's what we call the dog castanets. It's his paws on a wooden floor.
So you started recording, and you know, this is the crazy world we live in. Some of the early success that you had was in music licensing. You were on CSI, BBC's Orphan Black, and my favorite, I remember this commercial. I had no idea that you guys did it, but you covered the OJ's Love Train for Coors. I had no idea that was you guys.
Yeah, that was us.
That was one of those things. We were actually at Alex's house. I think we had recorded that day, and having a little bit of background and hustling our music out in different bands and everything, we knew some of the people. They're called music supervisors who put different songs in different shows and commercials and things. And we had sent some things out, and I think it was like one of those people had emailed like, "Hey, this might sound crazy, but there's a Miller Lite ad looking for a cover of the OJ's Love Train," and we're like, "I don't know." And we said, "All right," and we literally did it in about 15 minutes because you didn't have to do the whole song.
Right.
So what do we do, like maybe a verse and a chorus, Al, or something like that?
I think it's just because we happened to be at my house with guitars on doing other things when that email came in. So it was kind of like I'm not really that into this, but what if you just try that for 1 second? And it came together in
Sounded
all of
like
a couple
us.
minutes, and it
I'm
still
sure the
kept
money
our
spent
sound.
just fine, you know? It's-
Well, that's the funny part is that these two guys got dental work for the whole year because of that. So I mean, not only did we get paid, but we got insurance. So that
Yeah.
was. It
Well,
was.
one
It
of the
wasn't.
good-
Wasn't a decision we regret.
Time well spent.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the cool things about being in the house, though, and being weary of the neighbors and everything, is that we kind of learned we need to get this in one take or two takes, like all of our stuff, And at first, maybe it was out of necessity to not get the cops called on us, but after that, it was kind of like that's the magic time. That first take, that second take, even if there's mistakes, maybe some parts get sped up or something. Like when we put out the song "Off the Ground," that was a one drum take, and there's a part in there that every time I hear it, I try not to listen to it that often, but when I do, it's the middle part, and I just hear it. It's like I didn't know what I was doing. We weren't quite sure what that part was going to be yet, and it was just kind of like, all right, play through it and figure something out, and it just kind of has this little magic that when you go back, we've tried a few times with different songs to go back and do remake it or something, and that if that magic isn't there of sort of that uncertainty or that's that fire that you get in a take. So part of that came from not wanting to make the neighbors mad, but another part was just the fun part of seeing a song come to life, not in its entirety necessarily, but
Yeah. So the record ends up like doing well, and I don't think that any of you really saw it coming
No,
no.
not at all.
because radio airplay seemed like an impossibility.
We laughed at a wonderful person at our label who's become a dear friend said to us, I'll leave it nameless, but she said to us, "I think this song's going to chart Off the Ground." And I laughed, and she was like, "I'm not joking." And I was like, "Guys like us don't chart on charts. That doesn't happen." And it did. And,
It
so,
didn't just chart.
Yeah.
It went to the top of the chart.
It
It was
did.
number one.
It hit number one, yeah.
And then all of a sudden you're opening for...
That was a surprise.
Yeah. So you opened for B.B. King right before his death. You've opened for Buddy Guy, opened for Charles Bradley. You played with John Mayer. You played in front of 18,000 people at Madison Square Garden. That had to be like a little different.
It was different than the living room, yeah. But
Yeah.
the idea is the same. You know, get it done the best you can and play your heart out and leave it all there. So that at least stays the same. But yeah, the environment was certainly, that's quite a shift.
And I guess that the one other moment that was pretty dramatic was, you're at home, you're in bed, you're asleep, and your wife starts screaming.
Yeah, screaming at 6 a.m, which is not, as a musician, my farmer hours have flipped on their head. It's not 3 a.m. isn't the alarm, it's the bedtime now. So it's 6 a.m. and I'm asleep. I'm actually back from the road. I think it was it's come out in December. So we had just completed like the 2016 like really heavy run of shows that we did to promote the first record, and she was yelling in bed. And I woke up. I was like, I thought the house was on fire. I thought somebody broken in. I thought nothing good. There was no way anything good was about to happen. And then she's like, "Oh my God, Chris, you guys have been nominated for a Grammy." And I was like, "Okay." And she goes, "Did you hear what I said?" I'm like, "Yep, I did." I was kind of blasted by it. And she said, "What are you going to do?" I said, "Well, I'm going to call the guys. I'm going to call my folks. And I'm going to listen to Jimmy Reed."
Yeah.
That's what I did.
Yeah. Jimmy Reed's your favorite.
It is.
He's your standby. So after all of that success, then you get to go and record the next record. And you still did, a fair amount of it in the living room, but to spare the neighbors, you ended up in a legendary studio.
Yeah. Alex actually produced both records, so I'll let him get after that question.
Yeah, we wanted to keep, the same kind of thing, that we didn't want to lose that good thing. So, we use the living room as a great writing tool. It's a good hangout, and we recorded a lot of the initial kind of demos and did a lot of the songwriting there. But, we didn't want to make the same record again, and have the exact same sound. So we found a really cool studio down the street called Boulevard Recording, and this guy's got an analog paradise. We recorded. We started just doing some drums there, and then we really liked the whole vibe of the place, and we went from that to recording full songs on analog tape and things like that. And it really kind of sonically took us to a place where we wanted to be, but still, it's not this overly polished thing. It's still got that thing that we like in music and that we try to put out there. So just a natural kind of step up for us, I think, and we were really happy with how it turned out.
Yeah, there were some other little bands that have recorded there. Pink Floyd did The Wall there. Fleetwood Mac recorded there. Just I don't know if people have heard of these bands. War on Drugs, Ray Charles. So, yeah, Ghosts.
The Room had a nice history behind
You
it.
could feel it.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
could feel it in there.
Yeah.
Like,
So
for real, you could feel it.
now the pinnacle of your career, you're in Kansas City tonight.
I love Kansas City.
Love it.
Yeah. You were playing me the Jimmy Reed version of Kansas
Yeah, I
City.
introduced you to a new version of Kansas City. I can't believe I did that. You're kind of an authority on that subject, right? Or
Yeah, well,
wanting to be.
I collect versions, and I just didn't know
That's
that when
great.
it was out there.
yeah, that's great.
I'll have to go looking for that. But we are looking forward to the show tonight over at the Madrid. Madison Ward and the Mama Bear open up. They don't play Kansas City all that often, so it's going to be a real treat to see both bands there tonight. Again, the new album is All of This Life, and we'd love to hear one more song if we could.
You got it. Thank you so much, everybody, for giving us the opportunity to be on the airwaves today. This is what you're hearing here is rock and roll ain't supposed to be pretty. Sometimes you got to tune in and talk. Thank you to the Bridge. Thank you very much for having us here today. The kind audience here and all you out there in Radio Land supporting this great station who plays new music, which I got to tell you, as an artist who needs places like this, we're truly thankful. And we'll see you out to Madrid tonight with the fabulous Madison Ward and the Mama Bear. Take it away, Alex.
got this life to fix, threw it all out in a ditch. Broke it down when I was sick, gotta build it back up brick by brick. I got this life to fix, threw it all out in a ditch. Broke it down when I was sick, gotta build it back up brick by brick. Oh, 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 oh. To say this time alone is all I got, singing my song in the parking lot. Every day I wake this way, some of the days I just can't take. Get that money, get that break, ain't gonna win if you ain't gonna play. Oh, 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 oh. I'm up all night, close that deal, I'm all alone, it's all I know, singing along with the radio. Dream about you every day, can't go back, you're gone away. You knock me down, but that's okay, I'll look back on yesterday. I'll look back on yesterday. I got this life to fix, threw it all out in a ditch. Broke it down when I was sick, gotta build it back up brick by brick. I got this life to fix, threw it all out in a ditch. Broke it down when I was sick, gotta build it back up brick by brick. I got this life to fix, threw it all out in a ditch. Broke it down when I was sick, gotta build it back up brick by brick. Oh, oh, oh. This life to fix, threw it all out in a ditch. Broke it down when I was sick, built it back up brick by brick. I got this life to fix, threw it all out in a ditch. Broke it down when I was sick, built it back up brick by brick. I got this life to fix, threw it all out in a ditch. Broke it down when I was sick, built it back up brick by brick. Oh, 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 oh. Build it back up, build it back up. Oh, 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 oh. Hey, baby, build it back up. All right. Oh, 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 oh. Ah, yeah, yeah. Oh, oh, oh. Come on now. Build it back up, brick by brick.
Record Company live on the bridge this afternoon. The first record, Give It Back to You, and now the new one, All of This Life, featuring Life to Fix, the song that we just heard live in the Bridge Studios. And, of course, the band playing tonight at the Madrid Theater. Know that being on the road is tough, and for you guys to take the time to come in this afternoon is really an honor, and we appreciate it more than we can ever express. Thanks so much for coming in.
Our
Thank
pleasure.
you.
The Record Company live this afternoon on the bridge.